Hello guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. So in today's video we're going to be making this corset top. If that sounds like something you're interested in, do keep on watching and let's get right into the video. So guys, this is the pattern I'm working with. I went ahead to label everything as you can see. So this is the measurement I'm going to be working with. For my bust point, I'm working with 10 inches, the under bust 13 inches, the waist 17 inches, and the full length of the dress is 21 inches. So I'm going to go ahead to mark out my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, which is 3.5, and I'm going to mark that out. When I'm done marking this out, I'm going to go ahead to rule a straight line there. Now on my under bust line here, I'm going to come out by 1 inch on both sides. So I'm going to be marking 1 inches on both sides, and I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom part and rule a straight line. Next, at my bust point area here, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and I'm going to mark that out. So now I'm going to curve out that 1 inch we took out, and I'm going to curve it towards the line I just marked. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just taking the curve all the way up to the mark we made initially. So this is what our pattern is looking like so far. So from my nipple to nipple measurement here, I'm going to just take note of that. So from this point all the way down, I'm going to take note of what I have from my bust point to my under bust point, and here I have 3 inches. So I'm going to use that as my bust circumference, and I'm going to just mark 3 inches all the way around to create a perfect circle. Next, I'm going to decide how deep I want my yoke to be. I do not want too much cleavage to show, although we're going to have a yoke, but I'm going to just mark out 7 inches on this part here. And after doing that, I'm going to come out by half an inch and I'm going to mark that out. So after doing that, we're going to come back to the bust area here, and I'm going to extend that line all the way to the top part of the circle we have. And from this point here, I'm going to come out by half an inch on this side and 1 inch on the other side. So now we're just going to rule this to meet our bust point. Now on this armhole area, we're going to take note of what we have there divided by 2, and we're just going to mark it out there. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my curve and I'm just going to curve this from that mark we have there all the way to our under bust on this side. So now I'm going to go ahead to rule this all the way from this point all the way back to where we have our dart. So you can see this is what it's looking like. On this other side here, we are no longer working with this dart here. So from this point, we're going to extend this back to where we have that 1 inch, where we came out by 1 inch. We're just going to rule this back in to form our cup there. And then from this point we came out by half an inch. We're going to use that as our guide, and we're just going to rule this all the way back to our under bust to form this other side as well. So this is what we have. So this is what the cup is looking like right now, but to form the shape we are looking for, we're going to come out here by half an inch on both sides on the bust point line, and we're going to just rule this all the way to meet with our nipple to nipple measurements line there. And we're also going to do the same thing on the opposite side. We're going to come out on the bust line by half an inch on both sides, and then we're going to rule this to meet with each other, creating a dart at that point there. So this is what we have. Now we're no longer working with this dart here, so I'm just going to go ahead to cancel them out, so you know we're not going to be working with those areas. This is what our pattern is looking like so far. Next, we're going to go ahead to just impute our body measurements divided by 4. So I'm going to start with my bust measurement divided by 4, and then I'm going to go ahead to return whatever we took out. We're going to put it back on this side. And next, I'm going to put my under bust measurement divided by 4. I'm going to mark that out, and we're going to return the 2 inches that we took out there, and we're going to place it back on this side. Then for the waist as well, my waist measurement and my under bust measurement is the same thing. So I'm just going to take what I have at this top part here, and I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to go ahead to just mark it out. And finally, we are going to add our hip measurement divided by 4, and also return the 2 inches that back on this part as well. So this is what we have, but we're going to have a snatch. We're going to be snatching this a bit at the waist point area here. So I'm going to take out 1/2 inch from my original waist measurement for snatching. So this is what it's looking like. We're going to go ahead to rule this together to meet with each other. So this is going to be our new waistline on this point. After doing that, I'm going to cover this point here to eliminate any harsh lines we might have at that point there. Now this is what our pattern is looking like. We're going to go ahead to cut everything out. So one thing I did not mention is we are going to be closing up this dart here. We're not going to be cutting this out, so we're just going to close up the dart we took out. So this is what it's going to look like. So we're going to go ahead to just tape this down. So this is the pattern right now, and you can see that we do not add our allowance here. We're going to do that when we are transferring our pattern to our fabric. I also forgot to mention that we're going to be coming up by 1/2 inch on this part here. Feel free to go up as much as 1 inch, and then curve this out to create the curve at the bottom part there. So after cutting out the front pattern, don't forget to label your patterns. We're going to create the shape we have at the bottom part there. So on this nipple to nipple line where the joining is supposed to be, where we sealed up, I'm going to come up by 1.5 inches, and from that part I'm just going to rule this to the center part of our pattern. So I'm going to rule this forward, as you can see right now, and after that I'm just going to create sort of like a curve, taking that 1.5 inches we marked out down to the opposite side, and we're just going to roll it down. After rolling this down, I'm just going to create sort of like a curve on this part here, so we do not have any harsh lines on that part. So this is what it is looking like. We're going to go ahead to cut this out. After cutting this out, this is what it's looking like. We're going to go ahead to work on our back pattern. So for the back pattern, we have our lines rolled out exactly the way we had it for the front, and we're just going to start imputing our body measurements, our bust measurement divided by 4, our under bust, our waist, and our hip, the same way we did for the front piece. Now I'm going to go ahead to take out 1/2 inch the way we did for the front as well on this waistline area, and I'm going to just take out the 1/2 inch. And next I'm going to add in my sewing allowance. For the front we did not add our sewing allowance. I just decided to do this, and I'm going to add in the sewing allowance. So this is what the back pattern is looking like. Now I'm going to mark 8 inches, and this is how I want the yoke to be, the length of the yoke to be. So I'm going to mark 8 inches, and then I'm going to rule a straight line at this point here. So you can see that our back pattern is looking like this because we are not going to be having a dart at the back of the top. So I went ahead to rule out the line, and then I'm going to come down by 1 inch on this neckline area here, and then from that point I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches. Now I'm going to go ahead to create our neckline, and this is what it's looking like. And next we're going to create a yoke for the back, the shape for the back. So I'm coming out by 3.5 inches on this point here, and I'm going to mark that out. So from that point here I'm going to curve this to meet with that 1.5 we came down by. So this is what it's looking like. So this is the yoke for the back part. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create our opening at the back because we're going to be having eyelet at the back. So I came out by 2 inches on this point here, and at the bottom part I came out by 1 inch. So we're going to go ahead to rule this line to meet with each other. Now I'm going to go ahead to cancel out this part here because we are no longer working with that part. And on this point here I'm going to come up by 1/2 inch the way we did for the front, and we're going to curve it all the way back to our initial length. So this is our pattern. I'm going to go ahead to label this, and then we're going to go ahead to cut everything out. So these are the patterns for the back, and we're going to go ahead to go back to the front. This is the bust pattern. I'm going to go ahead to just label everything and cut it out. And we're labeling this because we do not want to get confused when we are trying to join everything together. So these are the pieces we are working with. I'm going to go ahead to tape them down together because we are trying to create a two-way cup rather. So I'm going to go ahead to hold the top parts together, and then I'm going to tape this down. So for the bottom parts, we are going to just take the pieces, making sure they are at the right, we are holding them at the right point. That's why I said you should do well to label your patterns. So now we're going to hold them together, and we're going to tape them down as well, the same way we did for the first one. So make sure the bottom parts are meeting each other, and then just tape this down like this. So we're going to go ahead to bring in a fresh piece of paper to transfer this on. So now after placing this down, we're just going to use what we have on our pattern to trace this out on the pattern paper we have there. So I'm going to trace this all the way round, and then we're going to cut it out. So this is the pattern after we were done tracing this out. I'm going to go ahead to label these two. This is the first pattern, this is 1, and this one is 2. Now I'm just going to cut this out. So we're done cutting all our patterns. We're going to go ahead to cut them on the fabric. So guys, this is the fabrics we're going to be working with. So this is our lace, the lace we're going to be working with, and I got 1.5 yards of this lace. And we're also going to be making use of crepe. You can make use of your bridal satin. I had crepe around, and I didn't have access to go to the market at this time, so I just made use of the one I had available at home. And this is going to be Duchess. This is going to be for the draping of the cup. So this is Duchess fabric. You're also going to need this as well. And I got about 3 yards of this, and this is because we are going to be making a skirt alongside the top. So this is organza fabric, and you can also make use of organdy. I'm making use of organza because, as I said, I did not have access to go to the market. I just made use of whatever I had around the house. So this is what it's looking like. You can make use of organdy fabric. I think that's what it's called. Now we're just going to move ahead to start cutting. So I went ahead to place the patterns for the cup of corset, and I left sewing allowance all around them, and I'm going to go ahead to just cut this out. So I place this on fold while I cut. So as I cut this, I'm cutting out 2 pieces of each of them, one for each of the busts. I'm also going to create a notch so I know the center part of the pattern, of the fabric rather, so when I'm joining, everything is easy for me to join and sew. So I'm going to go ahead to cut out the back piece as well, and I'm going to leave out 1/2 inch joining allowance at the top and at the bottom part as well. For the sides, we already went ahead to put in our sewing allowance while drafting this, so we won't be putting in any allowance at the sides. So we're just going to go ahead to cut this out. So guys, while I was cutting this, I discovered I did not create the curve for the bottom part the way I did for the front, so I'm going to go ahead to do that. I came out on this part here by 2 inches, and I marked that out. Then on the this part here, I came all the way up by about 2.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead to mark it out as well. And I'm doing this 2.5 inches including that 1/2 inch we have at the bottom part. So we're going to mark this out. After marking this out, I'm going to, on this part here, come out by about 3 inches excluding the allowance we have at this part here. So we're going to come out by 3 inches or 3.5 inches and mark that out. So from that point there, you're just going to create a curve all the way up. You're going to curve it out. You can see what it's looking like here. After curving this out, I'm going to go ahead to just cut it out. So this is just the shape that we're going to be having at the back. After cutting this is what we have. Now we're going to go ahead to use this to cut out the lace as well. When cutting the yoke, remember to leave out 1/2 inch joining allowance at the top part here and at the bottom part here as well. For the front piece, we're going to be cutting this out and leaving out 1/2 inch joining allowance all around. But for the sides, we're going to be adding in 1 inch joining allowance at the sides, but the rest parts we're going to be adding in 1/2 inch joining allowance, as you can see. So guys, after cutting this out, this is what it's looking like. This is what the front piece is looking like, and with that, we've come to the end of this tutorial. Do stay tuned for the sewing part where I show you how to sew this and subsequent videos to come. If you found this video helpful and you enjoyed watching, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed already. and I will see you on the next one. Bye guys.